How many boys sign up to serve their country in war? How many parents never want to get that knock on the door? How many men saw their friends shot, brains on the floor, coming home post-traumatic, and now how many more?
My name is Miles Megacyph. That's Mental Energies Gather and Circulate in Positive Harmony. I work in the world as an MC, teacher, writer, poet. I'm a full-time father. I'm an activist. I'm an artivist. So I'm going to share music with you. You can look me up online, megacyph.com, MEGACIPH.com. Mental Energies Gather and Circulate in Positive Harmony. Allow yours. And who am I? Never mind me, I'm just the overlooked voice of the poor majority. Trusting in this country to keep its first promise, protect the voice of the people and always remain honest. I came to New York for a week. New York is home to me. I came to New York for a week to work with World Can't Wait, the We Are Not Your Soldiers project. We're going into high schools and colleges. Today I'm going into a college and teaching workshops. They're really sharing classes, sharing courses about the truths of the military, the things that the recruiters don't tell you before you're enlisting. And recruiters prey on low-income neighborhoods, primarily people of color, blacks and Latinos, get targeted, for lack of a better word, by recruiters in their 9th, 10th grade years. Oh well, forever promised to the few and the proud. So much potential I could hold the clouds. So much promise to say it loud. I promise to spit fire only to... Because that's the market that feeds the military machine. Those are the ones we put on the front lines. That's the cannon fodder. So I'm going into the schools to share my truths and wake these kids up.
With pinpoint answers. Why are people persecuted for smoking the cure for cancer? Why are global greenhouse emissions still not addressed? Why incarcerate instead of educate? I'm not impressed. We're oppressed with fear, scared of change or the other. Allowed our government to become big brother. Was it a big blunder, a grand mistake or fate? Though I've walked through the valley of death, I am awake.
Most of the kids are shocked. They have never heard these things before from family who are in the military or from brothers or sisters who have gone away and are still deployed. Don't share. I didn't share for too many years when I got out. So the responses are pretty shocking from the kids. There's very little pushback. But I think there's two types of people in the military, primarily lifers and people who are over it. Some of the people who are over it keep quiet and just bide their time to get out, and some of the people who are over it are brave enough to speak out against what's wrong while they're in, and they work to get out. So you also have the lifers, and the lifers, the ones who buy into the system and buy into the lie, the falsehood of their job actually protecting people and creating peace, sell that same thing to their kids by not sharing all the pain with them. And so a lot of these kids from military families are shocked to hear these truths for the first time.
I know it broke your heart when I signed up for the service. Your baby chose to leave as if all you did was worthless. 17 years working 2 jobs to support us. For all of your guidance, I still saw the higher purpose. Or so I thought, and I walked. I had to be a man. Stand on my own, learn to fight, kill, and withstand. A friend I still have to this day. Packed my bags, boarded that bus and went away. And oh, the games they play on your mind. They sent me first and left my man behind. Told us it would be fine. We'd be in the same platoon. All right, brother, I love you and I see you soon.
I think the best thing for me is when the kids come and tell me afterwards, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm happy it's not too late. Or I already took my ASVAB. I'm happy I don't have to go follow through and go to boot camp. Those are the best ones. A couple of the heartbreaking ones are like when the kids agree and still feel like they have no option. They understand that war is wrong and that their job would be killing people and still feel that they have nothing else they can do, or their family is going to still steer them in that direction. And the child clearly doesn't want to do it. Those are the heartbreaking ones. If you have questions, thoughts, curiosities about the military, I don't think so at all. No. I think the national anthem is a way to teach nationalism, patriotism, and even vitriol against other nation states. Yeah, it's when the national anthem was written, there were slaves. Colin Kaepernick is a blended, mixed descent, you know what I'm saying? I think he has every right to not stand. Yeah. And it's a country of freedoms. So, no, I don't think it's disrespectful. When I was 17 and I saw my grades falling, and I applied to colleges and didn't get into any colleges, I kind of felt like I didn't have another option. So that's why I went in. In hindsight, I could have gone to a community college and got my grades up and then gone to a four-year university if I wanted. I could have gone to music production school and learned how to produce and engineer beats. And since that's what I've been doing the whole time anyway, I could have just done that. In hindsight, I see lots of other options, lots of things I could have done. And I would have made even more money. Because I know money might be the lure. Easy money might be the lure, but it's actually not a well-paying job. I was fortunate to not go to war. I was in the Marine Corps from 1992, right after the first Gulf War, to 96. So I got out right before the second Gulf War. I was very fortunate in that sense. I was stationed in Cuba for a year, and Cuba has an active minefield around the base, and I saw trauma. I saw death as a result of the minefield. Cubans trying to flee, trying to seek asylum in the States, have to traverse that minefield. So I did see that. And what I experienced in boot camp and Okinawa, honestly, have traumatized me. Fleet life in itself is traumatizing. Active duty life without even going to combat is traumatizing. Well, the president didn't go to a war. I mean, I don't know what he dodged the draft with he claimed he had heel spurs. So I know that the president of the United States didn't serve in the military. And I know that as the commander-in-chief, he has a responsibility to the soldiers, to the men and women of the military, and to the men and women of this country. And I believe and I know that he could find other ways to negotiate and to be diplomatic rather than choosing to threaten countries with the biggest bomb they've ever seen, or some of those things he said. Oh, it took too long. It took too long. I got out in 1996, and I didn't write Civil I Am until 2013. I produced it in 2014. So that took 18 years. And in that 18 years, I was completely apolitical. I went and spoke one time at a rally in undergrad. In my undergrad school, me and this other woman we put together our little political position and went out into the streets and spoke. And our permit got revoked real quick, and our power got cut off by the police, and that scared me. And I didn't realize that I shut down from 2001 until 2017 was when I went to Okinawa, just now, and I spoke politically for the first time that I've spoken politically. So other than my music, which I've been producing since 2006, I haven't gotten on stage or in front of anybody or protested or rallied or anything for all those years. And seeing my son, raising my son, let me know I had to do something different because I was just washing away the pain, like most of my brothers and sisters from the Marine Corps and from the Army and the Air Force do, with alcohol and more alcohol, and it doesn't help solve any problems. So writing songs and spending my money to go to places that need protesters seemed like a better thing to do with my money. That I must have failed him somewhere. Where did I fail him? Why? Why would he want to do that to me? Why would he want to do that to himself? I would ask him I'd ask him where I went wrong. Because if the way I'm raising him and the honesty, the level of honesty he's receiving from me in our life, in our home, is not enough to show him that the military is not a good place, especially for a man of color, then I would just be broken. No one's asked me that question. Everyone's asked me what I would do if he wanted to join, right? But if he came to me telling me he had already signed up, I'd probably take him to Canada or somewhere. Because if he hasn't gone to boot camp yet, the contract's not official. So I'd run. I'd leave. We'd leave. Or I'd just go to his recruiter and tear up the contract or something. Yeah, your recruiter is not going to cry in front of you or tell you that anything about the military is going to make you sad or leave you with lifelong trauma and pain, but it will. They will, if you're a man, they will strip you of your manhood. They will completely strip you of it and refill you with like killerhood. You know, they will make you so proud of yourself and your abilities to fight and to kill that you'll believe it. And you'll believe it about yourself. And you'll believe that it's a good way to be a man. And you'll probably act it out on your wife. And you'll probably act it out on your kids. Because a lot of the violence that happens in military families is because of that pain and that trauma. Those men don't know how to be men. And if you're a woman, the same thing. If you're a woman, you will get stripped of everything that makes you a woman. And you will be turned into a support system for killers. And nowadays, a killer yourself. I hope and pray it's not impolite of me to say this. I'm truly sorry for my service. It meant their freedoms waited. Nuchi do takara, nuchi do takara. What do you feel? I'm gonna ask y'all a question. Like what do these songs make you feel anything? They make you think anything? That's a great thought. It's a great question. My answer would be yes. There are active forces working to keep these viewpoints silent. Can I name them? No, but there's a lot to be said in silence, right? And there's a lot to be said in the void. So you're not seeing any of these voices. You're not hearing any voices like mine until this class. And you're 9th graders or 10th graders? 10th graders? Like, you've gone through 15 years of life and you haven't heard a single bad thing about the military. And meanwhile, there's 22, 23 veterans a day who commit suicide because of their time in the military. There's protests that happen every day against the military. This country, other countries. Okinawa is a country that protests every single day. They've been protesting every day since 1945. And really strongly every day since, I said 1945, and really strongly every day since 1995. But a protest against the military-industrial complex is a protest against the news media. It's a protest against the banking institution. It's a protest against everything about this country, so it doesn't get airtime. And even if there's 50,000 protesters, they're made to look like 3. And if you see a Trump rally, which might have 3 people at it, it's made to look like 3,000. And then somehow 3,000 becomes 30,000 and it's the biggest audience in the world. We are humans. Humans are social people. We like to gather in groups. We like to follow trends. It's just the way we are. If the news makes it seem that it's popular to oppose the structure, then more people will do it. But if they make it seem like, it's fringe, those are the crazy ones, those are the leftist radicals, then people will always say, they're just crazy people. They're not. This shirt that I wear, this organization was started by Vietnam veterans, old white men, for the most part. And it is identified as a leftist radical group by the US government. Like, it's Veterans for Peace. Shouldn't a veteran be for peace? Do you think veterans, should it say Veterans for War? Or active duty for war? That kind of doesn't make sense, right? The trauma comes from the training. The trauma, the initial trauma that a veteran, or not a veteran, I guess a military person has, comes from the training. It comes from the boot camp, the indoctrination process. And then it's compounded if they go to a combat zone. So my first 3 days on Paris Island, I suffered sleep deprivation and water toxicity. You don't get enough sleep in your first 3 days, maybe, 4 hours, 8 hours for the whole 72 hours, because you're doing all the weighing and the measuring for uniforms and the issuing of your equipment, your bunk. You get all the bedding, you get all this stuff, and you fill out all this paperwork and you take all these tests, but they don't put sleep into those first few days when you get off the bus. And they put a lot of water into those first 3 days. So every hour you're made to drink however many quarts of water. Every time they say drink water, you have a quart of water. A quart is like 2.5 of these. And you got to chug that quart. Every time they say drink water, you got to drink and drink and drink and drink and drink until it's gone. And then 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, they'll probably say drink water. And then 20 minutes later, they'll say drink water. And so you're running to to trash can throwing up. And you're in a room full of 80 Marines, or recruits, I should say, who are all suffering a lack of sleep right now and horrible feelings of nausea, and just everybody's thrown up at this point. You know, by the end of the first day, everybody has thrown up, and the pail smells like hell, and the room that you're in is just raunchy and rancid. And it goes on for 2 more days. And by the time I got to my squad bay, I was so happy. I felt like I had a home. I was like, wow. And then I was woken up at 4:30 in the morning or 5 in the morning by garbage cans clanking together, by the sound of 2 metal pans smashing into each other, and me being told to get the fuck out of your rack, you fucking piece of shit, you goddamn maggot, get out of your rack. Horrible, horrible things that I never heard at home. You know, my mom would wake me up like, oh, honey, it's time for school, you're gonna be late. You know, and I roll back over and ignore her, right? Here, I'm pulled out of the bed. The bed is flipped over if you're not out of it quick enough. All of it, like my Foot Locker, everything flipped because people didn't get out of their rack quick enough. You don't get dressed quick enough, next problem. You're not dressed in 3 minutes or whatever it is, 2 minutes, now you have another problem. So you can't win. You can't win in boot camp. You and whoever else is next to you or whatever your little clique is, as described by the drill instructor, becomes like your place of solace, which is like your peace, your respite. And it also becomes, it can be the very worst thing in the world, because all of you can get tagged together. All of you can suffer the same fate. You know, if one of you is dragging ass or one of you is not doing the right thing, then all of you have to suffer the same punishment as seen fit by the drill instructor. So the trauma is from coming from a home life that hopefully is better than that, because some people are raised in military families, and some people aren't raised by military men or women, but they're raised by people who've suffered a whole life of trauma as well. And then those parents act out those traumas on their kids. But if once you join the military and you agree to that contract and you followed through with your 3 months of inhumane treatment and punishment and torture because you have the goal of a paycheck, or the goal of seeing the world, well, now you are officially in the system and you can't get out because you'll get charged with a crime. So you can leave in boot camp, but you can't leave after boot camp. Now boot camp is done and you are part of the system that is creating trauma around the world. And you know it. You know it. Because there's no one in the military who doesn't know it. You either accept it and become a lifer, and you marry a military woman or man, and you have military babies, and you travel the world from base to base. Or you know that it's wrong, and you wait until your time is up and you get out, and then you're quiet the rest of your life because it's not affecting you. Or you fight to get out. Or once you get out, you fight to end it, because you know it affects so many other kids and so many moms and so many dads too. No, at all. I went in 100% under the veil, 100% in the belief that I was doing good, that I was going to go do good and be a part of something really good. That's how I went in. Well, it's there's a lot of problems that can't be done away with overnight, but they can be done away with in 7 to 10 years. So the military-industrial complex was started to build up to World War II. And in the build up to World War II, factories that do nothing but create weapons were built around the country. And that has only continued since then. That's grown exponentially. We build weapons. That's what we do best. All right? Mitsubishi does it. I don't know how many American car makers, but I imagine both American car makers do it. Raytheon does it. Boeing does it. We build weapons. All right? And those jobs are entrenched throughout the country. To make a B-52 bomber takes like 17 factories in 17 different states. And so those governors and senators are fighting for military contracts in their states. And it's just the word military-industrial complex is a real thing, or the term. It's not some leftist propaganda. Do some research on it, and you'll find the answers for yourself, and they'll be mind-blowing. I title it the land of the slave. Personally, for me, it's the land of the slave. It was made rich on the backs of slaves.
Our leaders with their sick bloodlust, and I should trust. Obey blindly, orders from the top, given kindly. And who am I? Never mind me, I'm just the overlooked voice of the poor majority. Trusting in this country to keep its first promise, protect the voice of the people and always remain honest. This dishonest land of the money.